Do you think New York State should recognize gay marriage?
No.
No. Okay.
I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman.
I do not support gay marriage.
I was a Goldwater girl.
I'm very proud that I was a Goldwater girl.
Goldwater was against the '64 Civil Rights Act.
40,000 people, half of them Negroes, demonstrate against Goldwater.
I am compelled to urge Negroes and all people of goodwill to vote against him. His election would be a tragedy and certainly suicidal almost for the nation and the world.
My political beliefs are rooted in the conservatism that I was raised with.
I feel sorry sometimes for the young people who, believe this. They don't do their own research. The unborn person doesn't have constitutional rights.
Are you saying that a child on its due date, just hours before delivery, still has no constitutional rights?
Under our law, that is the case. So in the third trimester of pregnancy, there is room for looking at the life.
I am so sick of the Sanders campaign lying about me. I'm sick of it.
So you're saying your opinion on gay marriage changed, or you changed your mind?
I have to say, I think you are being very persistent, but you are playing with my words and playing with what is such an
I'm just trying to clarify
issue.
So I can understand.
No, I don't think you are trying to clarify. He's a very arrogant person to deal with, which I think is a combination of this vision of Russia and some fundamental insecurity.
I could have told him he was a KGB agent. By definition, he doesn't have a soul. I mean, this is a waste of time, right?
Как минимум, государственный деятель должен иметь голову.
Only a few days ago, she said that what Russia is doing in Eastern Europe resembles what Hitler was doing in the 1930s.
Mrs. Clinton has never been too graceful in her statements. When people push boundaries too far, it's not because they are strong, but because they are weak.
I remember landing under sniper fire. There was supposed to be some kind of a greeting ceremony at the airport, but instead we just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles.
Her arrival in Bosnia was not quite as dramatic as Clinton put it. Memories should always match the videotape.
I have been a critic of NAFTA from the very beginning.
I think that NAFTA is proving its worth. They are going to people showing videos of Donald Trump insulting Islam and Muslims in order to recruit more radical jihadists.
Fact checkers have said that she was wrong.
All my grandparents, came over here, and
turns out only one was an immigrant, 3 were not.
During the parade in which she participated, her campaign roped off reporters so they wouldn't interfere with the candidate.
Clinton operatives blasted reporters camped across the street from an outdoor fundraiser in white noise or static noise so that reporters couldn't hear what she was telling the donors.
Hi, Secretary Clinton, will you release a transcript of your paid speeches to Goldman Sachs? No, there's a lot of controversy over the speeches.
When Hillary voted to authorize the war in Iraq in 2002, Clinton promoted the war-torn country as a place where American corporations could make big money.
It's time for the United States to start thinking of Iraq as a business opportunity.
This is the Cutting Edge on RFM. You're listening to Winston Hubert McIntosh. Today is Winston Hubert McIntosh Earth Day, and we're celebrating it with music. We can't do nothing else more than celebrate it with music, because music was in life. I hope I don't get too deep for you, but this is Peter Tosh. The Wailers is a group in Jamaica we cover them song more than any other group. Peter Tosh cover him song them more than any other individual. I mean, really, like all the tune you know. It's about 4 times sing over the tune you know. And Hillary Clinton. And you know, say, really and truly, the debate kind of get away because I don't see none of them really get any new followers. But concurring with my executive political friend, who are you know, my political friend, you know, until I say, me and her political relationship more important than her FM. So, when I talking to her on the phone, she have to know, say, okay, what should I do for her FM? We have to really discuss what is happening. So, we have decided that Trump never win the election. Sorry, not never win the election, never win the debate. And we also recognize one serious thing we're going to talk about. And it really make aspersion against Ronald Reagan. Now you know how these Republicans, Ronald Reagan is like the god of the Republican Party, you know. So when Trump decides why him did always disagree with Ronald Reagan on a certain topic and him now can fix it, you know, say them nah let go after that tomorrow. Them nah let go after that tomorrow at all. Believe you me. But him go good. Him go good. Yeah, him go good. But I don't think him go good enough for draw anybody else. You know, who is with Trump will be with Trump tomorrow, and who is with Hillary will be with Hillary tomorrow. I think them should have dealt more in this foundation thing, though. You know, I don't know how I see the things, man. It's weird because I watch them. And I realize some things with them should I bring up, and I not hear them I bring it up. And I said, then how me get them information there? How them now bring up this very serious information? So we have two tape I go play, you know. Believe you me, I go play two tape right in the heart of the discussion of Peter Tasha, so now, because we can't let go and fight. We want to play a tape, a little clip, it's not even a whole thing, because we never play the whole light, by Farrakhan, Louis Farrakhan have some serious indictment against Hillary Clinton. So we want to play a little snip of her talk about Hillary Clinton, and then another snip of her talk about Obama relationship with the black community, especially in Chicago. And then we're going to play a longer one now about Hillary Clinton. So we want to stay tuned. You can't miss it, you know. You don't want to miss these things, you know. Believe you me, because I don't know how I not hear certain things I bring up when I sit on my yard and I figure out. It's like me I put myself in the place as one of them I say, alright, because you know, if them lick that, this is what I say. And when me look on how them attack, and me I say, but when Hillary said that Trump should have said this, but I don't hear bring it up. And then it's like the moderator Asperan, obviously him is a Republican, because I think he work for Fox. The last two is ironical that the last two was CNN and one was gay and one was a woman. Them people are not easy, you know. They put a gay man, which is Anderson Cooper, and a woman in front of Donald Trump. And it did go out good still. It did really go out good. But today now they put a Fox man in front of him. And this Fox man has spur man still, you know. And things we never forget. Things we might forget, the Fox man remind him, say, oh, this is where you should have bring up. But I don't know how I did that say. It's like I put myself and I say, but this him should have bring up and that him should have bring up. And I don't hear him bring it up. So I don't know. Maybe them should have made me be a surrogate. Maybe should have be a surrogate for these people, because I do understand how I hear certain things I talk about in this debate. You know much WikiLeaks thing come out since them catch him attack on the bus about Hillary. I mean, no hear them bring up nothing about it. I don't understand them something. But why him goes cook? Him goes cook. Believe you me, something I forgot, and then him go say him no know. The man ask if I go accept the outcome of the election. Him say him go wait and see. You know them thing there. Them go and latch on that. Watch and see what got happen tomorrow on CNN. When them done latch on that man and play back the tape and loop it. Because CNN never even loop tape. They don't believe you me. But life continue. Life continue. This is the cutting edge. You don't want to miss them. Trust me. And you know we're going to play one of them after the advertisement. So we're going to play one after the advertisement. This is the cutting edge. No, the Nation of Islam organization is celebrating the Million Man March. And you know, last week we tell you that they must have a telecast of things that was happening for that celebration. Well, recently, Louis Farrakhan gave a speech. I was going to just play a little clip. Just a little clip of what Farrakhan say. We want to play 2 clips as a matter of fact. Why listen to this? Believe you me.
How many of you voting for Hillary? You don't have to raise your hands. I do not blame you for wanting a female president. But that's a wicked woman. Now listen, you can vote for her, but vote for her with knowledge. She can be sweet, but so can you. And you know when you're sweet but playing a game. All of a sudden she know about Trayvon Martin. All of a sudden. The boy been dead nearly 2 years. Now she's talking about him like she met the mother and these white people, this is Satan. And you fall for that crap. Most of you that went to jail for having a little blunt in your pocket, they arranged that, the Clintons. Mass incarceration came about under the Clintons. Don't forget that. They call my young gangbangers super predators. And Black Lives Matter put it to her. She didn't know how to handle that. Call you a super predator that has no conscience, no sensitivity, like you a dog, you an animal. We got to bring you to heel. You, my young brothers, this is what she said about you. And she didn't just say it. It became law and policy of the U.S. government under Bill Clinton and her wife, his wife, and now she's apologizing. But apologizing can't bring back the broken families. Apologizing can't bring back those that have been destroyed in prison life. Apologizing she, in her person, orchestrated the destruction of Libya and the killing of Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was my friend. He was my brother. She lied. He was going to kill all his people. No, he wasn't. He was just going to kill those rebels that America seized on their dissatisfaction, made a counter-revolutionary move, and then used it to bring NATO in to bomb and destroy his air defense, and then move to kill him. Now Libya is a failed state. all the refugees fleeing out of Syria, fleeing out of Libya, fleeing out of North Africa is because of policies of the government of the United States of America and her specifically. Now, when they release all those emails that they haven't released yet, they'll show you how she maneuvered our president. And maybe you won't think so well of her when you see how she talked to him. White people don't talk to black people. I don't give a damn what position you got, like you the boss. They always talk to you like they're the boss. Well, the only way you'll ever be the boss if you come and submit to Allah and follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and come on and unite with me.
People them when me hear attack, them go off for what CNN say, but and then I hear some Jamaican and say, well, you have to deal with lesser of the two evil. My question is, which one of them is lesser of the two evil? That is my question. Which one of them is the lesser of the two evil?
You've been in that party a long time. Answer me. What did you get? You got a president. He's worried about his legacy. Well, you want Hillary to get in to protect your legacy because Trump said the minute he get in, he's going to reverse the Affordable Care Act. Because that's your signature achievement. To show you how hateful the enemy is, he hates that you achieved what you did achieve. So he said, I'm going to tear it up when I get in. So he don't want his legacy destroyed. Mr. President, let the man do if he get in what he wants. Because he's not destroying your legacy. If your legacy is bound up in an Affordable Care Act that only affects a few million people and they're trying to make it really difficult for those of us who signed up, that's not your legacy. But I just want to tell you, Mr. President, you're from Chicago and so am I. I go out in the street with the people. I visited the worst neighborhoods. I talked to the gangs. And while I was out there talking to them, they said, you know, Farrakhan, the president ain't never come. Could you get him to come and look after us? There's your legacy, Mr. President. It's in the street with your suffering people, Mr. President. And if you can't go and see about them, then don't worry about your legacy. Because the white people that you've served so well, they'll preserve your legacy. The hell they will. But you didn't earn your legacy with us. We put you there. You fought for the rights of gay people. You fought for the rights of this people and that people. You fight for Israel. Your people are suffering and dying in the streets. That's where your legacy is. Now you failed to do what should have been done. But it's never too late. You, like Jimmy Carter, can be a better president after you leave the restrictions of your White House and come on back to the hood and start organizing like you did. And with your influence all over the world, let's make a new and better people. And from us, if it's Allah's will, we can make a new and better America. Thank you for listening, and may Allah bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Continent with Mutabaruka. We are listening to the whole amends. You know here, continent, the end, the end.
The direct reason why I did that started as a solo artist. I find myself getting inspiration through the divine inspirator, who is Jah, seeing Rastafari, and he's the divine inspirator. Well, I get a lot of inspirations, and each inspiration is a song. See, and when I make a song, for years I've been making songs, and it seems true. Well, Bob is the leader of the group then, and he would like, but I don't know, maybe, I don't know what's going on within him, but he just like to make his tune and sing his song, see? And I make tunes, but for the years that I've been singing, but just through I love music, and I love harmony, see, that keeping the background harmony, and we've been doing that for years, and we know it well, me and Bonnie, see, and we know it quite well, so we just find ourselves love the harmony, that we just keep on doing harmony, you see, but it comes a stage that, it reaches a stage that getting inspiration now, when you get inspiration, you make a nice sound and check a stop. It comes like the inspirations are being wasted because just we just involved in harmony and just pure harmony. It comes like, well, we just get an idea, sing it, and it sounds nice today. And we mention as well, like, I mean, make mention as well. Alright, well, like record this tune. And we check a stop. The tune is not recorded. It is only said that well, we must do it a couple of weeks or maybe next week we'll do it. It just one that the tune is not recorded. I make many tunes and just go by the same way because, you know, harmony is my thing. It just appears as if, well, it's just harmony, I must say, but I get inspiration and I have to manifest the works of my inspiration, you see. Well, I find so my inspiration is very valuable and it's a message to the people. And if I get inspiration, which is a message to the people, I don't mean one people, you know, see, the whole world, irrespective of what category of person you are, you see, my message is to you. So that's where what's going on. And when I get them inspiration, they come like, I don't pay no mind. It's not a matter of I don't pay no mind, but it's, well, Bob is the leader. And he doesn't want no one to come before him doing a next lead, according to my point of view. And we were sitting together, building a foundation of a Trinity, the same tree. And all the years we've been doing that. To me, it appears as if it was one. But after it reached these stages now, I say that it wasn't a Trinity of one. You know, it was just an individualization. You know, ever since we begin to record with Island recording, you see, from record the first 12 LPs, I start to recognize that. I say, well, right now is the time for me to manifest my works because I've written many songs for years and the years gone by, and just all I do is keep them up here.
Yeah, that is Peter Tosh giving him opinion about the connection and being just harmony and not getting to sing some of the songs them that he would have liked singing at the group. Very, very interesting argument. He also say from Island coming at the picture, things kind of get a different way too. Serious thing. This is the cutting edge on RFM, flip rolling and flip rounding between present current event, American current event, and what we have here, Peter Tosh, Earthquake. we're going to take requests for Peter Tosh song. So any Peter Tosh song where you want to hear until 2 o'clock, you can call and tell the operator. But we're going to play a documentary before we start take them requests there. You understand? Clinton. The band will be at the concert Saturday, original band. Believe you me, Mikey Chung will be there. May I tell you? You can't afford to miss that. This is the cutting edge, continuing the journey. Peter Tosh. A serious proverb that, you know. Yeah, man, a serious proverb that. Well, why you listen to that tune, yeah? Why you listen to that tune, yeah? Enemies. Guide me from my friend because I know my enemy already. I know what my enemies will do. But I don't know what my friend them will do. So, he might beg you to guide him. Divine intervention, him look. Anyway, this is the cutting edge. And I refer, as we say, we have two things that go on the cutting edge tonight. Peter Tosh tribute and some clips where we collect about Hillary. You understand? Because we hear people that talk about the lesser of the two evils. I don't know where black people get mixed up in them talking about lesser of two evil. That's why the man said, Farrakhan just talk a while ago, say, information, you must vote with information. Better you have information all the while. So, I want you to listen to this.
The world is too small, our wisdom too limited, our time here too short to waste any more of it in winning fleeting victories at other people's expense.
The Clinton Global Initiative, which brings philanthropists and CEOs together with nonprofits to make concrete commitments aimed at some of the world's toughest problems. Almost 10 years in, they have leveraged billions of dollars in assistance in more than 180 countries.
CGI was designed to tackle big global challenges in bite-sized pieces, with the conviction that regardless of size or scope, our problems will yield to concerted action and innovative partnerships of individuals, NGOs, businesses, and governments. We have to now find a way to triumph together.
All the problems that we face, from climate change to financial contagion to nuclear proliferation, are too complex and cross-cutting for any one government or indeed for governments to solve alone. Because we believe that ending hunger is not only possible, but it is both a moral and strategic imperative.
Hillary Clinton is trying to shift the spotlight to global warming, the presidential contender unveiling her plans to combat climate change.
Together with innovative partners from the public and private sectors, we're working to make homes, universities, and cities more energy efficient.
We share a common future, and we are here to find common ground. Women must be empowered.
It's classic Bill Clinton, by using his birthday to help the causes he champions, from combating climate change to obesity and even HIV/AIDS.
Help bring new dignity and respect to women and girls all over the world. And in so doing, bring new strength and stability to families as well.
We are trying to do something no one has ever done before.
A new report today claims that the Clinton Foundation gives about 10% of its money that it raises to actual charities and the services that they offer.
It has been reported you've made $5 million making speeches. The president's made more than $100 million.
Well,
if you have no reason to remember, but we came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt.
6 years ago, Hillary Clinton was about to become Secretary of State. Barack Obama had nominated her. Everyone knew she was going to be confirmed by the Senate, going to be confirmed easily. But there was a thought, there was a question, there was a doubt out there about a potential conflict of interest.
The Clinton Foundation dropping its self-imposed ban on collecting funds from foreign governments and entities
And now the Washington Post reports total contributions to that foundation amount to $2 billion.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. Everything is blurred, and it's not good.
The questions scream out at me. What in the world happened with the foundation and these ulterior motives and the money and the email server? I'm sorry. Those scream out at me.
The amount of schmoozing involved and crossing lines and one person putting money in a foundation and then Clinton getting unbelievable amounts for his speeches, contracts going one way or another, it's not good.
I look forward to working with all of you, particularly the appropriators. We have a lot of work to do, and it is such important work that lies ahead.
We did this with a very simple strategy.
Not the fault of the African people. It's largely a result of the kind of system that's been perpetuated there. You have these oligarchs which dominate these countries that oftentimes have natural resources that can be very lucrative. And these oligarchs strike deals with foreign corporations or foreign governments who in effect prop them up and put them in power. And in exchange, these oligarchs give these entities access to rich mineral deposits. And the Clintons, you would expect to be opposed to this sort of thing, and that's at least what their language does.
Our countries have deepened our cooperation on many issues, including good governance and transparency, energy, regional security, and advancing peace and development in the Niger Delta.
The problem is their words are different from their actions.
Rwanda has clearly taken an impressive trajectory of development, and the people here still think Kagame is the man to take them to another level.
President Paul Kagame has walked all around the crowd, thanking the people for electing him unopposed as chairman of the RPF or president of the RPF for another 7-year term.
But his critics say that far from entrenching democracy in Rwanda, he's actually eroding it by silencing his opposition.
Paul Kagame has been praised by Bill Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. But the fact of the matter is Paul Kagame has a terrible human rights record. He's accused of aiding military operations in the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, and that actually forced the recruitment of child soldiers. The UN has identified him as being involved in activities that entailed massive human rights violations.
The newer opposition parties that have been formed in the last year or two have one by one been silenced or otherwise excluded from the race. And individuals, not only politicians but even journalists, for example, and other Rwandans who may have views different from those of the government, have found themselves at the receiving end of what has become quite a violent campaign of intimidation.
Well, Paul Kagame is a friend of Bill Clinton's.
I want to say a special word of appreciation for the leadership of President Kagame.
I'm greatly humbled to receive this Clinton Global Citizen Award.
He's actually given awards by Bill Clinton for his conduct as the leader of that country, and they regale him as a great military leader. This is the sort of legitimization that we don't want of these kinds of dictators and leaders. That's the kind of legitimization that the Clintons have engaged in. And they've done it in a way that creates commercial opportunities for donors and friends and allies who want to do business in Africa. Business in Africa means you're dealing with dictators who are going to give you access to, say, mineral rights or oil drilling rights, but you're going to have to pay them off. The Clintons partner with foreign entities who want access to Africa, and specifically mining companies or energy companies who need to get concessions for access to oil or natural gas or the rights to mine for gold. Those two make a powerful alliance because these companies will give money to the Clintons, either in the form of speaking fees or in the form of donations to the Clinton Foundation. And the Clintons will then, in effect, do their bidding before the halls of power and corridors of power in Africa. And they will go to foreign governments and encourage them to do business with individuals who are putting money in their pocket. And this leads to some amazing fits of behavior that, in a way, are just reminiscent of 19th century colonialism.
A perfect example of this is Ambassador Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson is a longtime friend of the Clintons. In fact, he endorsed Hillary Clinton in the 2008 presidential election. And it was also thought that he might become a senior official in Hillary Clinton's State Department. But the fact of the matter is Joe Wilson was up to something far more nefarious during Hillary Clinton's tenure as Secretary of State. In 2009, shortly after she became Secretary of State, when Wilson was the vice chairman of a company called Jarge Capital, they took out a 50-year lease on 400,000 hectares in South Sudan. South Sudan was in the middle of a civil war, and this lease was actually signed with warlords who were involved in the civil war. These individuals who were engaged in massive human rights violations, including the massacre of opponent tribes. And basically what Joe Wilson was engaged in was something called investing in sovereignty changes. They were basically cutting deals, lucrative deals, worth potentially hundreds of millions of dollars with these warlords. And the expectation was simple. These warlords would take power, then they would give them access to these lands where they could make huge amounts of money exploring for natural gas, exploring for oil, and for mineral rights. Ambassador Joe Wilson isn't the only Clinton friend and foundation donor who was working in war-torn countries. Swedish mining investor Lucas Lundin has pledged $100 million to the Clinton Foundation. He did that in 2007. And his most lucrative mining operations are in the war-torn country of the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a country that perhaps has the most horrific human rights situation on the face of the earth. By the time Lucas Lundin made his $100 million pledge to the Clinton Foundation, his Congo operation was making, quote, staggering profits, end quote, according to his own financial statements. His overall capitalization was $20 billion. But for those profits to remain staggering, U.S. policy under Hillary Clinton had to remain unchanged. That's a problem. Hillary Clinton, as a senator back in 2006, supported something called the Congo Relief, Security, and Democracy Promotion Act. As the law's name implied, the goal was to bring reform to Congo. That's not something that Lucas Lundin would want. So in 2009, when Hillary became Secretary of State, she reversed course 180 degrees and went from supporting reform in Congo to supporting the status quo, which is exactly what Lucas Lundin would want, who of course had committed $100 million to the Clinton Foundation. But Congo isn't the only scandal-plagued country where Clinton benefactors have made millions.
Africa's most populous nation, Nigeria, is full of promise, but fulfilling that promise is sometimes a struggle. Plagued by corruption and mismanagement, the resource-rich country has a poverty rate of over 50%.
Look at a country like Nigeria, which is really a cesspool of corruption. In fact, people will say it is perhaps the most corrupt country in the world. It's rich in natural resources, it produces a lot of oil, but that money never trickles down to the people. It goes to the oligarchs who run the country, who oftentimes take that money and put it in Swiss bank accounts in a way that, of course, the people of Nigeria can never benefit from. And you see, there's a federal law in the United States which says if foreign governments that receive U.S. assistance aren't transparent in how they spend that money, that they will not be able to get U.S. foreign assistance anymore. It's about transparency. But there's a way around that law. You can get a waiver from that law. How? By getting the U.S. Secretary of State to grant you a waiver.
We intend to remain very supportive on your reform efforts. Thank you for mentioning the work we did together on the elections. We're also very supportive of the anti-corruption reform efforts, more transparency, and the work that you and your team is also championing, because we really believe that the future for Nigeria is limitless.
So in the case of Nigeria, they receive hundreds of millions of dollars in U.S. foreign assistance.
They've not made progress in being more transparent. And of course, they've gotten exemptions from Hillary Clinton while she was Secretary of State.
What's so curious about this is what was happening commercially to the Clintons while this was going on. Bill Clinton, for the first time ever, gets paid highly lucrative speeches in Nigeria, which had never happened before. In fact, he gets paid to do 2 speeches for $700,000 apiece by a businessman in Nigeria who just happens to be close with the president of that country. Keep in mind, by the way, that his normal speaking fee is less than $200,000 a speech. So this was an enormous payday for Bill Clinton.
Okay, now we'll begin the panel.
One of the pinnacles of power in that country is a gentleman named Gilbert Chagoury.
Gilbert Chagoury, who has committed $1 billion to the Clinton Global Initiative, is connected to another individual in the Clinton orbit. That would be Mark Rich, the billionaire who was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list that was suddenly and surprisingly pardoned by Bill Clinton in 2001. Mark Rich, you might recall, is somebody who is trading oil with the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran at the same time that the Ayatollah was holding 50 Americans hostage. He also had a long history of busting UN sanctions by trading oil with the apartheid regime in South Africa and a whole host of other nefarious governments. Well, Gilbert Chagoury, the high Clinton donor, was business partners with Mark Rich. Together, they sopped up oil assets in Nigeria and sold them on the oil market for the benefit of a corrupt individual who was leading Nigeria at the time, named General Abacha.
Abacha smuggled, by some estimates, $4 to $8 billion out of the country and put them in European bank accounts. Gilbert Chagoury was indicted and convicted in Europe for helping him to do that. He was charged for aiding and abetting a criminal enterprise and on money laundering charges. And the suffering that ends up being done here is by the people of Nigeria, who see their leadership getting a pass from the United States. The elites in those countries are getting rich, the Clintons are getting rich, and the money somehow never trickles down to the people of Nigeria.
Sadly, this theme of resources not trickling down to those most in need is a common one when it comes to the Clintons.
As we told you at the start of tonight's program, a major magnitude earthquake has hit the island of Haiti in the Caribbean. The quake measured around 7 points on the Richter scale, and its epicenter fell just 10 miles from the capital, Port-au-Prince. Haiti's ambassador to the U.S. has described the event as a catastrophe of major proportions.
So far, we have no information regarding the casualties.
The war is coming to an end!
It was a big earthquake. It lasted like 15 seconds, I think.
Probably the most devastating humanitarian crisis that Hillary Clinton faced during her tenure at the State Department was the tragic earthquake in Haiti. happened in January of 2010, and literally in a matter of seconds, 250,000 people were estimated to have died, and a large portion of the Haitian infrastructure and economy was just decimated. It was a crisis on a massive scale.
The United States is offering our full assistance to Haiti and to others in the region. We will be providing both civilian and military disaster relief and humanitarian assistance, and our prayers are with the people who have suffered, their families, and their loved ones.
In the days and weeks that followed the earthquake in January of 2010, Hillary Clinton made visits to Haiti.
And here's the latest on Haiti. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrived in Port-au-Prince just about an hour ago. She is the highest-ranking U.S. official in Haiti right now since Tuesday's earthquake. She's meeting with Haitian leaders and international officials to discuss the rescue and relief efforts.
In fact, on her first visit, which occurred days after the earthquake, they literally had to stop traffic going in to the airport at Port-au-Prince. There, of course, were relief supplies that were being flown in, but that traffic was stopped so the Secretary of State could come and assess the damage.
There is a perception, and there have been complaints or reports of bottlenecks, that there's a lot of aid coming in, but it's very hard to get it out to the people who need it.
That's just not true. The aid is coming in. We're getting it out. There's just not enough of it yet.
She flew in with her political aides on a large federal airplane. She landed at the airport. She made a large press conference, made statements about her commitment to rebuilding this country, and then she was soon whisked away, headed back to Washington, D.C.
With Mutabaruka, we are listening to our meds. You know here, continent, the edge.
This is the cutting edge. We know a lot of people, the first time I hear them information, you know. But we know a lot of progressive black people, African people, recognize that when you talk about lesser of two evils in this election in America, and we all hear people come down on Trump, all sort of things. I mean, him put him mouth in some filth all the while. But he's talking attack. Him don't have no understanding or experience about how American government run. Him is a little businessman. We are try a thing. But this lady not talk, just talking. She have a experience, she have a history. And this is showing you some serious things. And we especially choose this part of the thing because it will deal with something where relate to we as people, especially upon the program where we are dealing with, as it relate to them involvement in Africa and them involvement in Haiti. Here we talk about it all the while. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue.
Way headed back to Washington, D.C.
Theirs is a city in ruins. A country which can do little but wait for help to arrive.
The international community responded in the way that you would expect it to. That is, large amounts of money were committed, up to $13 billion from international relief organizations. And of course, you had the official role of the State Department, which would be point on U.S. taxpayer dollars going to Haiti for the purposes of relief.
I want to assure the people of Haiti that the United States is a friend, a partner, and a supporter.
Hillary Clinton's State Department would oversee the reconstruction effort, with Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills responsible for the allocation of U.S. tax dollars through USAID. And Bill Clinton, already appointed Special Envoy to Haiti for the United Nations, was named co-chair of the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission, along with a former Haitian Prime Minister.
I hope it will be rebuilt in a much stronger and more sustainable way, and I think the Haitians want that.
So this was clearly a Clinton operation from the beginning. Now, the Haitians had their own ideas about how best to rebuild their country.
They wanted new roads. They wanted buildings rebuilt. And that's what you would expect. This is how you recover from an earthquake. The problem is that the Clintons had their own agenda. The interests of major donors who had a vested interest in spending that money in Haiti in ways that would benefit them. And so you immediately had this clash between the Haitians and the Clintons. And Haitians complained almost immediately that they were shut out of the decision-making process, that it was really Bill Clinton and a few of his friends that were calling the shots in the IHRC. And they made some monumentally bad decisions that not only didn't benefit the Haitian people, but ended up putting money in the pockets of major Clinton donors who had economic stakes in Haiti.
We have been united behind a single goal, making investments in this country's people and your infrastructure.
So it's a classic example of what some people call disaster capitalism. Disaster capitalism in that a natural disaster creates opportunities for rebuilding to take place, but also for self-enrichment to take place. And if you look at the Clintons and the promises that were made and the results that actually followed, it is a tragic story of crony capitalism gone awry. Largest relief project that the United States committed taxpayer dollars to, $124 million to be exact, was a project called Caracol, a textile factory that was built in the northern part of the country that was supposed to create some 60,000 jobs and was supposed to create tremendous economic growth. There's a problem here already. You see, the earthquake affected the southern part of Haiti. The northern part of the country was entirely unaffected. But who were the beneficiaries of this? Companies like Gap, Target, and Walmart, to name a few. The Caracol factory was built, but it didn't create 60,000 jobs. It created barely 5,000 jobs. But the major American companies who got textiles tariff-free, made at low wages, benefited enormously. And the end effect on the Haitians was very, very minimal. If you look at some of the infrastructure projects that were undertaken, the Clintons had very grand plans to build large tracts of homes, and there were contractors that were selected for those projects. Sometimes the contractors had experience, sometimes they did not. There's one company in Florida that spent $1 million getting equipment into Haiti. They had experience in disaster relief, but according to the owners of that company, they only made a small donation to the Clinton Foundation. And guess what? They didn't get any relief contracts. On the other hand, the contractors who did win the awards were given the opportunity to build homes, and in some instances were supposed to build tens of thousands of homes for Haitians. They ended up building a fraction of that. For instance, the New Settlements program was supposed to build 15,000 homes for $53 million. Instead, it built 2,600 homes, less than a quarter of the original estimate, for $90 million, or $47 million over budget. And they got away with it. So you had contracts going to these relief organizations that were also involved with the Clinton Global Initiative. And you had this one organization, Dahlberg, that was supposed to do an assessment for relocating people that suffered from the earthquake. They determined that people should be moved to a site that happened to be on a cliff that was highly unstable. USAID's Inspector General reviewed Dahlberg's recommendations and found them basically unusable. One member of the USAID shelter team was quoted by Rolling Stone magazine as saying that the recommendations were so bad, it looked like the team never even got out of their SUVs. Another person said that only one of the people that was sent to Haiti by Dahlberg actually spoke French.
Telecom mogul Dennis O'Brien is one of the world's richest people, and he's finding opportunities in the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. The Irish billionaire is the largest private investor in Haiti through his company Digicel, and he's now leading the Clinton Global Initiative efforts down in Haiti.
Probably no one came out better in the Haitian reconstruction effort than an Irish billionaire named Dennis O'Brien. He was a Clinton Foundation donor, giving them between $5 and $10 million. He helped arrange speeches for Bill Clinton, too.
The interest of the Obama administration, particularly the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, all the different things that have happened to help Haiti get up off the floor have been led by the U.S.
And he was the owner of something called Digicel, which is a cell phone company at the time of the earthquake. As part of that relief effort, the State Department run by Hillary Clinton wanted to fund a mobile monies transfer service that would allow Haitian citizens to transfer and receive money on their phones. Well, Digicel applied to be the recipient of that grant money. 4 weeks after their application, Digicel actually sponsored a speech for Bill Clinton in Jamaica, and they paid him $225,000. And as it turns out, within 4 months of that speech, Digicel would receive the first installment of that grant money. The earthquake actually has been great for Digicel and Dennis O'Brien.
More than 4 years since a magnitude 7.0 earthquake devastated Haiti. And outrage there is growing over the largely failed reconstruction effort, despite the hundreds of millions of dollars in aid that has been collected and spent by the IHRC, the Interim Haiti Recovery Commission.
So whether you're talking about housing or cell phones, you see that the people that are closest to the Clintons have made out very well from the Haitian earthquake. The rest of the country, the ordinary people of Haiti, not so much.
Haitian activists staged a protest outside Hillary Clinton's Manhattan office. The demonstrators claim billions of dollars were stolen through the Haiti Reconstruction Commission headed by Bill Clinton. They also say Haiti was used as a cover for foreign governments to funnel kickbacks of possibly hundreds of millions of dollars through the Clinton Foundation. They say it was done in exchange for favors that Hillary was doing for them as Secretary of State.
The tragedy is we had an opportunity to rebuild in a way that would give the people of that country hope. Sadly, that opportunity was squandered, and what took place, rather than rebuilding Haiti, was the self-enrichment by friends of the Clintons. For all of Bill Clinton's talk about building Haiti back better, the fact remains that the most visible evidence of Clinton's role in the recovery isn't the improvement of daily life for everyday Haitians, but the construction of new luxury hotels just miles from the folks who have been living in tarps USAID handed out immediately after the earthquake.
We are telling the world of the crimes that Bill and Hillary Clinton are responsible for in Haiti.
But while the world eventually lost interest in Haiti's recovery, the influence and connections afforded to donors from the Clinton Foundation appear to have been lessons learned by others. So how much do connections to the Clintons matter when you're talking about Haiti? Consider the case of gold mining. The government of Haiti had not granted a gold mining concession in 50 years. They decided to do so during the reconstruction of their country, which was being overseen by Bill and Hillary Clinton. What company did they select to get this gold mining permit? A company called VCS Mining. VCS Mining had very little experience in gold mining, but what did they have? They had connections. Shortly after they got that concession, someone joined their board of directors. It just happened to be Tony Rodham, brother of Hillary Rodham Clinton. It was a true disaster that followed the earthquake, which was the natural disaster. This was the man-made Clinton-caused disaster in relief that led to the wasting of enormous sums of money, the enrichment of elites that were friends with the Clintons, and the Haitians were left in a situation where their life was really not much better than it was the day after the earthquake happened.
Pipeline is firing off a war of opinions.
Environmental activists marched in Washington today to protest plans for the Keystone XL oil pipeline.
A $7 billion project to transport 800,000 barrels of tar sands oil a day from Canada down to the Gulf Coast.
In Washington, a showdown on the Senate floor today over the Keystone XL pipeline. The vote to approve the controversial pipe project has big political implications.
The pipeline would create 20,000 jobs, but opponents say the environmental risk is too great.
One of the touchstones of the climate change debate has been the Keystone XL pipeline. It's designed to carry oil from Canada through the United States to refineries in Louisiana and in Texas. The environmental movement has wholeheartedly rejected this deal from the beginning because they believe that it's going to further contribute to the problems of climate change.
1. We are the people. 2. You can't ignore us. 3.
Now, you would think that the Clintons would be opposed to the Keystone XL pipeline deal because of those concerns. And perhaps they might be, except for one or two problems, or should I say 1 or 2 million problems. You see, when Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State in late 2008, there was already an issue related to the Keystone XL pipeline sitting on her desk. She was going to have to sign an environmental and economic impact statement and decide whether the Keystone XL pipeline should go forward. At that precise time, Bill Clinton gets a lucrative offer of nearly $2 million to give 10 speeches in Canada for the first time ever from a company called TD Bank Investment Group. He gave the last speech in May of 2011. 3 months later, Hillary's State Department releases an environmental impact statement that was seen as largely supportive of the Keystone XL pipeline in a way that was massively controversial. Hillary Clinton, in effect, was betraying the environmental movement by greenlighting this deal, when she had in her hands the power to kill this deal in its crib. It was shocking. Organizations like Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth were stunned. They wanted investigations, but everybody was mystified. Nobody could understand why Hillary Clinton would sign off on this deal, particularly when she had been in favor of dealing with climate change, and her boss, Barack Obama, by all indications, seemed to be opposed to this deal as well.
It's also a time for a new approach to climate change. We know we've got to deal with global warming. We're seeing the effects of it. We need to invest in clean energy technology today so that we can create new high-paying jobs to protect our environment, to grow our economy, and to finally break our addiction to foreign oil.
How did we go from the Clintons being in favor of fighting climate change and dealing with fossil fuel dependence to Hillary Clinton signing off on the Keystone XL pipeline? The evidence that we found was that it was about the money. This was not a philosophical change. This was not a new way of thinking about global warming. This was a way of taking $2 million in cash to essentially buy a decision by the Secretary of State. Why is the TD Bank Investment Group so interesting? Because they just happen to be one of the largest shareholders in the Keystone XL pipeline itself. When we looked at Bill Clinton's pattern of giving speeches, we looked at who was paying him, when they were paying him, and if they have ever paid for a speech before. What's so stunning is that TD Bank had never sponsored a speech by Bill Clinton before. And then suddenly, in late 2008, when Hillary Clinton has been announced to be the Secretary of State, and when sitting on her desk is the matter of the Keystone XL pipeline, they suddenly decide to sponsor these speeches. And when people realize that the Clintons had pocketed about $2 million at the precise time Hillary Clinton was making this decision, it all now suddenly made sense. Because as we've seen repeated over and over and over again, when it comes to the Clintons, you have to follow the money. And in the case of the Keystone XL pipeline, they seem to have abandoned their principles, their commitment, as it was, to combating global warming and dealing with our dependence on fossil fuels. They jettisoned that when $2 million showed up and suddenly came out in favor of the Keystone XL pipeline. When you see this sort of pattern of behavior, you can't come to any other conclusion that it's a system of pay to play. And again, other entities appear to have picked up on this business model too. Well, Bill Clinton has been paid enormous sums of money over the years to give speeches. On average, he gets a little less than $200,000 per speech. But something happened in late 2008. His speaking fees skyrocketed after he'd been out of office for years. The reason was his wife had become Secretary of State. In fact, 11 of the 13 speeches for which Bill Clinton has been paid $500,000 or more occurred precisely when Hillary was the most powerful diplomat in the world.
You will never contribute to an organization that will give you a higher probability of having your good intentions turn into real positive changes in other people's lives. that will give you a better chance of what you've done here tonight.
His single biggest speech payday came from the Swedish telecom company Ericsson, and it's a very, very unusual and troubling story.
Now, Ericsson is a Swedish telecom company that in 2009 and 2010 was in trouble with Hillary Clinton's State Department because Ericsson was selling a lot of telecom equipment to Iran, to Belarus, and to other oppressive governments, about which the State Department was concerned. Ericsson risked being put on a list by the federal government in the United States for trading with an enemy state. There was actually an effort being put forward in Washington to broaden Iranian sanctions to include the very technologies that Ericsson was selling to the Iranian government. So it's against this background
that Ericsson decided now might be a good time to hire Bill Clinton to give a speech.
They had never paid for a speech by him before, and they decided to go in big, $750,000 for a single speech. 7 days after he gave that speech, Hillary's State Department came out with a statement which said, "We are not going to broaden sanctions on Iran to include technologies like telecom. We're going to rely and expect companies like Ericsson to police themselves."
It was a massive win for Ericsson. Ericsson was able to avoid having to deal with a regulatory battle in Washington, giving up contracts that were highly lucrative in these countries, and being put on a list that would create an enormous diplomatic problem for them, all because essentially they paid Bill Clinton to give a speech for $750,000.
Will you continue to give speeches?
Oh, yeah. I got to pay our bills.
So the question is, why do we see the Clintons reversing decades of policy positions that they've held so closely on issues like human rights and environment? And a big clue comes from the folks that are giving the Clinton Foundation literally tens of millions of dollars. And one, if not the biggest donor to the foundation, is a Canadian named Frank Giustra. Giustra is in the mining business, hardly something you'd call environmentally friendly. And he has interests all over the world. And he used his relationship with the Clintons to benefit those interests, regardless of the environmental concerns. A great example of this is what happened in Colombia.
What's so interesting about the relationship that the Clintons have with Frank Giustra is they tend to show up in these foreign countries together at the same time.
Frank Giustra's made billions of dollars over the years in the so-called penny stock market in Canada, which is highly open to manipulation. He's been very successful in this area. Now, the Vancouver Stock Exchange is not like the New York Stock Exchange in the United States. This is a stock market or an exchange that is dominated by penny stocks, made up of a lot of natural resources stocks. It's sort of the wild, wild west of investing.
It's called Dodge City sometimes. And the reason is because there's a lot of speculators, there's a lot of misinformation that's put around, and there are a lot of mining companies that don't really have any assets, but will proclaim to have gotten the rights to some lucrative gold mine, let's say, and then they send that news out to the public in the hope that it will lead to a flood of people buying the penny stock so the shareholders can sell their assets. So in June of 2010, Bill Clinton and Frank Giustra fly to Bogota, Colombia. And who arrives there at roughly the same time? Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
The big thing from the news conference was where Bill and Hillary were dining the other night in Bogota. I had a chance to talk to about her dinner experience in the Zona Rosa, and here's what she had to say. Dinner was good?
It was excellent in every way.
So it was like eating in the States, but eating in Bogota.
Well, it was a real treat to be in Bogota and to be with people who love this city so much, including my husband.
Now, in her memoirs, Hillary Clinton says that this is just a happy coincidence. But when you see what follows, you realize that this is no coincidence.
The following morning, Bill Clinton has a breakfast meeting with the outgoing president of Colombia, President Uribe. Then, like a tag team, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has a noon lunch meeting with him. And she grants him several favors, including technical agreements that the Colombian government wants. In the days that follow, something dramatic happens. Frank Giustra has 3 companies that get major concessions from the Colombian government: Pacific Rubiales, Petroamerica, and Prima Colombia Properties. One of those, Prima Colombia Properties, gets a concession to cut timber in a rainforest in Colombia along the Pacific coast.
And that timber is not intended to export to the United States, but is intended for export to China. There's an outrage and upset environmentalists who realize what's going on, and eventually that permit is yanked by a future president of Colombia, but not before Frank Giustra's company is able to profit from cutting down these rainforests, which again is a behavior that runs so contrary to what the Clintons profess to be in favor of.
We all know that in order to build low-carbon economies of the future, we need sustainable forests.
I also know the future of our planet depends on healthy, standing forests.
They've talked about the problems of deforestation. They've talked about the problems of the need for successful growing forests to mitigate carbon dioxide in the air. And yet, when this commercial opportunity was presented to a major donor of theirs, they seem to be very much supportive of that and, in fact, helped to get him those concessions.
He deserves the credit for this. This was his idea, not mine, and he raised the money. And it's an astonishing achievement. My job is to make sure that it's not in vain, that he gets the return on his investment and his compassion and his commitment.
The Clintons appear to have changed their stance on issues even more significant than the environment, in ways that benefit those who have put money in their pockets.
Represent a president and a country committed to a vision of a world without nuclear weapons and to taking the concrete steps necessary that will help us get there.
The Indian nuclear deal, I think, is so troubling because this is a core national security issue.
Well, one of the signature achievements in foreign policy for Bill Clinton was pushing the Test Ban Treaty and the Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Today in New York, the United Nations General Assembly voted overwhelmingly to adopt the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and open it for signature later this month.
The NPT has been sort of the holy grail when it comes to nuclear disarmament, something that the Clintons have been supportive of, not just for years, but for decades.
That was all thrown asunder in 1998 when the Indian government tested
nuclear weapons underground.
India's action threatens the stability of Asia and challenges the firm international consensus to stop all nuclear testing.
These were tests that truly shocked the world. Even the CIA was not aware that these tests were about to take place. Clinton's reaction was volcanic. He felt betrayed by the Indian government, and as a result, he imposed sanctions on India, essentially saying, you're not going to get access to U.S. nuclear technology until you sign the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. In 2005, the Indian government wanted to get these sanctions lifted.
Not only do they have an interest in expanding their civilian nuclear base, they live in a neighborhood where some pretty tough customers and rivals have nuclear weapons themselves. First of all, you've got Pakistan, which is right next door, which is widely believed to have nuclear weapons. And then you have China, a longtime rival of India, which has a nuclear arsenal.
The Clintons said that they were in favor of giving the Indian government some access, but the problem is it didn't go nearly as far as the Indian government wanted. So in 2005, they started making donations to the Clinton Foundation.
This morning, yet another shady donation to the Clinton Foundation has surfaced, this time tied to a donor from India, apparently a friend of Bill Clinton.
We're talking about tens of millions of dollars from Indian interests flowing into the Clinton Foundation. And we're talking about at least hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in speeches that Bill Clinton was paid by interested parties in the Indian nuclear deal. Amar Singh, according to Clinton disclosures, has given between $1 and $5 million to the Clinton Foundation in the push to get them to support Indian access to nuclear technology.
He's a member of parliament who has gotten in fistfights on the floor of the parliament, who's been charged with bribing members of parliament to get certain pieces of legislation passed. You see, a problem is when you ask Amar Singh, he says it wasn't my money. I don't have that kind of money. I couldn't have given him that amount of money. And in fact, when you look at Indian public records, you see that Amar Singh doesn't have a net worth anything close to being able to give that amount of money. So where did the money come from? Well, sometimes the most obvious answer is the correct one. Sant Chantwal is an Indian businessman who has been close to the Clintons for years. He pledged to raise $5 million for her 2008 presidential campaign. And Bill Clinton was at his son's wedding. They actually named him as a trustee of the Clinton Foundation. When Hillary Clinton was first running for the Senate in 2000, Sant Chantwal was in trouble with a federal agency called the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. He basically owed them millions of dollars from unpaid loans. Well, in 2000, Chantwal throws a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton, and he brings in $500,000. A few months later, with Bill Clinton still president of the United States, Sant Chantwal's case with the FDIC was abruptly settled for a mere $125,000. So basically, the federal government got pennies on the dollar. He would actually go on to plead guilty for funneling $180,000 in illegal campaign contributions to Hillary Clinton, among others. And no one seems to have made the connection. Well, maybe one reason no one made the connection is because the Clinton Foundation mysteriously erased any mention of Sant Chantwal from the website once he had admitted to his illegal activity. So here we are years later, and we've got this donation in a guy's name who swears he didn't actually make the donation. And you've got this longtime Clinton benefactor who actually gets the highest civilian award in India because of his role in changing Hillary Clinton's mind on this nuke deal.
Sant Chantwal says he's worked with everybody and even laid the foundation of the Indo-US nuclear deal.
So the Indian government says that they've given you this award for your role in pushing the Indo-US nuclear deal forward. How exactly would you describe the role you played in this?
Well, I can tell you Indian nuclear power deal. If you look at it, I'm the first one. I laid the foundation.
On the eve of the vote in 2008 to approve Indian access to U.S. civilian nuclear technology, Amar Singh, who barely knows Hillary Clinton, had a 2-hour meeting with her where they discussed the Indian nuclear deal. Amar Singh says that the dinner meeting resulted in her telling him that she was supportive of the deal and that she was making efforts to make sure that the deal did get through. And lo and behold, by 2008, Hillary Clinton was fully in support and in favor of this policy in a way that was a complete reversal of the position that she had taken before. In other words, the flow of money had led the Clintons to change their positions on the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and specifically, India getting access to U.S. nuclear technology. This was a decision that was wholly out of step, wholly inconsistent with a progressive liberal agenda. Hillary Clinton made a decision of reversing her previous position after the flow of funds to the Clinton Foundation, and her husband gave some speeches in India. But this wouldn't be the last time Hillary reversed herself regarding nuclear weapons technology. Shockingly, Bill and Hillary would end up receiving money from folks that were looking to make something happen a lot closer to home.
Yeah, we're going to come forward to this. We'll just have a little piece left. Very revealing, very revealing. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM. The time is 12 o'clock.
Brothers and sisters, this is Janice. Join us with respect for our national anthem. Let us stand and defend this one. Peace and love. Thank you. Eternal Father, bless our land, guide us with thy mighty hand, keep us free from evil powers, do our life through countless hours, to our leaders great defense. Dunbar.
My man named Robbie Shakespeare.
Stay tuned to RFM Mutabaruka.
Right now, this are the cutting edge scene. It's a Muta. The man rough. It's just tough. Cutting edge, sharp. Cutting edge, scene, Mutabaruka, scene, RFM, scene.
Yes, Slide Dunbar.
Scene, and Mr. Robbie, scene.
Stay tuned to RFM Mutabaruka, cutting edge.
Scene.
There you Indian nuclear power deal. If you look at it, I'm the first one. I laid the foundation.
On the eve of the vote in 2008 to approve Indian access to U.S. civilian nuclear technology, Amar Singh, who barely knows Hillary Clinton, had a 2-hour meeting with her where they discussed the Indian nuclear deal. Amar Singh says that the dinner meeting resulted in her telling him that she was supportive of the deal and that she was making efforts to make sure that the deal did get through. And lo and behold, by 2008, Hillary Clinton was fully in support and in favor of this policy in a way that was a complete reversal of the position that she had taken before. In other words, the flow of money had led the Clintons to change their positions on the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and specifically, India getting access to U.S. nuclear technology. This was a decision that was wholly out of step, wholly inconsistent with a progressive liberal agenda. Hillary Clinton made a decision of reversing her previous position after the flow of funds to the Clinton Foundation, and her husband gave some speeches in India. But this wouldn't be the last time Hillary reversed herself regarding nuclear weapons technology. Shockingly, Bill and Hillary would end up receiving money from folks that were looking to make something happen a lot closer to home. I think the Russian uranium story is perhaps the most shocking and most blatant example of how the Clintons operate. This is a story about the Russian State Nuclear Agency, American Uranium, $145 million in cash, and the Clintons. At the end of the day, this is a story about buying influence and selling influence. The Clintons are the sellers of influence, the Canadian investors and the Russians are the buyers. Bill Clinton had gone to the Central Asian country of Kazakhstan in 2005 with Frank Justra. Kazakhstan is a country that's been run since the collapse of the Soviet Union by a dictator named Nazarbayev, who shuts down political opposition and tortures political opponents. The ostensible purpose of the visit to Kazakhstan by Bill Clinton was to talk with Nazarbayev about AIDS, HIV. The problem is Kazakhstan really does not have an AIDS, HIV problem. So that explanation really doesn't make sense. What makes far more sense is that Frank Justra wanted access to very lucrative Kazakh uranium mines. Kazakhstan is one of the largest producers of uranium in the world. Bill Clinton arrives there with Frank Justra, and they have a series of meetings with Kazakh officials. There's a press conference where Bill Clinton stands with the dictator of Kazakhstan, and he praises the human rights record. He praises that elections are being held in the country, and he even says that Kazakhstan should head up something called the OSCE, which is the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Think about that for a second. Bill Clinton is saying that a known human rights violator who's been condemned by human rights organizations around the world should head up a human rights organization. They go from a press conference to a dinner where Frank Justra, Nazarbayev, the dictator of Kazakhstan, and Bill Clinton meet and talk. Well, 2 days after that meeting, Frank Justra finally gets his uranium concessions worth hundreds of millions of dollars. A couple of weeks after that, Bill Clinton gets his $30 million from Frank Justra, the first payment in what will become more than $100 million in pledges and commitments and donations made by Frank Justra.
So it's really, in a way, a simple story in that they all are walking away from the table with something that they want. Nazarbayev is getting the legitimacy of an ex-president, saying what a nice and kind leader he is. Frank Juster gets his uranium concession, and Bill Clinton and his foundation get cold, hard cash. Now let's move to chapter 2 of this story, which is even more sinister. You see, the international uranium market is very competitive. The Kremlin sees dominance and control of the uranium market as a source of national power. Frank Juster takes that uranium concession he got in Kazakhstan and puts it into a company in a so-called reverse merger, which was one way for a private company to go public to form something called Uranium One. It's a company traded on the stock market in Canada, and they start acquiring uranium concessions in places like Wyoming, Texas, New Mexico, and Utah. And by 2009, they have what is expected to be 50% of future uranium production in the United States. This gets the interests of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. And in fact, there are State Department cables that were leaked through WikiLeaks, which show that Hillary was aware of the fact that the Russians took great care to try to dominate the international uranium market. Well, the Russians want to buy this asset, and they offer a 40% overprice on the share of the stock. And for this transaction to go through, it has to be approved by the U.S. federal government. Why? Because uranium is regarded as a critical industry in the United States. After all, this is used for our civilian nuclear reactors and goes into nuclear weapons. So it goes before the federal government, where it needs to be signed off by a series of federal agencies, including the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. As Hillary Clinton is contemplating this, shareholders in Uranium One, including Frank Juster, have sent more than $145 million to the Clinton Foundation. The chairman of that company at the precise time is a guy named Ian Telford, who is also making donations to the Clinton Foundation, as is Frank Holmes, who is another major Uranium One shareholder. And Hillary Clinton, who has a record of opposing precisely these kinds of deals, comes out and says, you know what, I think this is a good deal. Let's let Vladimir Putin take control of what is now 20% of U.S. uranium production. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are the only figures in American politics who are willing to do this deal and who could actually pull it off, because they had a reputation that runs so contrary to what they're doing. I mean, this is what the Clinton Foundation does, right? This is what they talk about politically, their support for human rights, their concerns about proliferation, their concerns about issues related to Russian aggression.
There's no doubt that when Putin came back in and said he was going to be president, that did change the relationship. We have to stand up to his bullying. And
what's so interesting when you consider this uranium deal are the actions of a small Canadian investment firm called Salida Capital. Salida Capital, in 2010, as this deal was going down, committed to give millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, and they also sponsored a speech by Bill Clinton in Canada. Salida Capital is also the name of a wholly owned subsidiary of Rosatom. Who is Rosatom? Well, this is the government agency in Russia that controls their nuclear arsenal, that built nuclear reactors in Iran, and engages in nuclear technology exchanges with rogue countries like North Korea. What this means, in essence, is that the Russian government, specifically Rosatom, was funneling money through a subsidiary directly to the Clinton Foundation. But the payday didn't end there. 4 months before Hillary Clinton's State Department would sign off on the Russian purchase of Uranium One, Bill Clinton got paid $500,000 to give a single speech in Moscow. He was being paid by a firm called Renaissance Capital, which has a long history of association with Russian intelligence services. What makes this speech stand out is not only the timing of when he's being paid, but the amount that he's being paid. You see, the last time Bill Clinton gave a speech in Russia was 5 years earlier. At that time, he was paid about 1/3 of what he was being paid this time. Why is Russian control of 20% of U.S. uranium so troubling? If you're in an era where nuclear weapons are a reality, where nuclear energy is an important component of energy production in the United States and increasingly around the world, control of uranium is absolutely crucial.
And unlike oil or natural gas can be found in so many places around the world, there are precious few places where you can find significant and large amounts of uranium that you can produce on a commercial scale. What we've essentially done is handed this precious resource to Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. They're not only engaged in aggression in places like Ukraine, but they've been very aggressive in fighting American interests around the globe. Russia's not an ally. Russia's not a friend. Vladimir Putin's Russia is a rival of the United States, and yet we've given them control over this precious resource.
Uranium, the key mineral in nuclear generation, is a domestic resource.
This is what's going to power America.
I think a lot of people in Middle America would be surprised to know that the Russian government is doing business in places like Colorado or Wyoming or Utah. These are small mining towns. These are operations that have existed for a while, that have been under the control of American companies or for a while Canadian companies. But it's now Russian companies that control this, and those companies are controlled by the Russian government. Having read through the archives of the KGB, the files that they have been released, I can tell you that they look at the United States as weak and ineffectual. This is a thuggish government that is engaged in massive human rights violations. There are opponents of this regime that have been killed or have disappeared. There's been persecution of human rights organizations. There's been persecution of homosexuals. And it's shocking and stunning to me that there has not been more attention focused to this fact, that we have given this critical resource to somebody who is engaged in so much nefarious behavior.
Greetings from Washington. I want to thank all of you for your work to root out corruption that weakens economic development, feeds black markets and organized crime, and undermines the promise of democracy. As we work together to eradicate corruption in our own countries, we should also maintain the highest standards of transparency and accountability in our development efforts around the world. Corruption in emerging markets and fragile democracies undermines the confidence of citizens and investors alike. Responsible governance helps to foster sustainable economic development and political stability.
I believe in the oldest adage in American politics, which is follow the money. Enormous amounts of money have flowed to the Clintons from foreign governments, foreign financiers, and businesses. Some of that money lands in their pocket. Some of it lands in their foundation. It's a pattern we've seen repeated over and over and over again all around the world. It's not a coincidence. Money exchanges hands and favors are done. Now Clinton friends and supporters will say there's no smoking gun. But look at American political history. People are convicted all the time for a pattern of behavior where, for example, they're engaged in insider trading on the stock market. So, for example, you have a foreign corporation or a foreign government that wants something from the State Department while Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State. They will make a large payment to the Clinton Foundation. That will be followed by favorable action on their behalf. If that happens one or two times, you might say, look, it's just a coincidence. But when you see the pattern recreated over and over and over again, you have to recognize that these events are connected. They've created a model for massive self-enrichment that allows you to go into so-called public service, but get extremely rich at the same time. And when friends and allies say that the Clintons aren't really that interested in money, their actions show otherwise. What's so shocking to a lot of people is that making of that money requires them to betray their progressive values, the environment, labor unions, women's rights, human rights. The Clintons are doing business and growing rich with the favor of the very individuals who you would expect to be their political opposites. For a very long time in American history, and probably still to this day, one of the worst things that could be said about you as a politician is that you are on the take from foreign interests. What the Clintons have essentially done is busted down the door and robbed the bank of that concept. So when people think of the Clintons taking foreign money, they think it's maybe an insurance company from Great Britain, or they think it's from a supermarket chain in Canada. The fact of the matter is a lot of that money comes from the darkest, worst corners of the world. Are countries like Nigeria and Russia in the habit of giving money to politicians and not wanting something back? The Clintons are glad to take this money. It's made them fabulously wealthy. But what has it done for us? Before we had to worry about money from Wall Street and big labor. Now we have to worry about it coming from around the world and infecting our politics and damaging our politics. Everything from our uranium policy to our human rights policy. Nothing seems to be safe anymore. How is this not corruption? How is this not a crime? With the Clintons, nothing is sacred. Everything is for sale. But we are the ones who are paying the price. Maybe, just maybe, the American people are tired of being sold out.
You're putting up a resistance. Mamuta gonna work it out, yes. You're putting up a resistance. Mamuta gonna work that out. Yo, you're tuned to.
You know, it's a couple minutes to 1 o'clock. As we say, we're going to take some calls still, you know, all we are going. 1 hour left in the program.
It's the annual
documentary there we play upon the Clinton Foundation. May I tell you, sometimes when you hear people talk out of just regurgitating what them hear from news media certain way, instead of really try to investigate other medias. You know, you can't, you know, you have CNN where I work with the Democrats and you have Fox where I work with the Republicans. Sometimes you have to go deeper to find alternative messages. You know, it's a serious thing. This is the Cutting Edge, you know, say, little more from this, we're going to have the stepping razor, the art of war. You know, we have an interview, we're supposed to have an interview with Marlene. That interview we did with her years ago has been so widely listened to on YouTube. It's unbelievable. We want to talk to her about what's going on now in our life and where really are going in terms of our connection with the new effort that is out there now. That is the museum, which was opened today. And not today, last night, Wednesday night, which was in birthday. Continuing the journey, as we are saying, we're going to have 1 hour left, you know, if you want any. I mean, if you want to talk about the documentary, or if you want to talk to Peter to shoot when you're able to play yet. Yeah, blessing.
Yes, sir. Good morning time.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, man. Thanks for playing my Wheeler, Peter.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, I'm birthday, that's why I would have played so much.
Yes, man. Because, boy, this man was very, very, very deep.
Yeah.
Another side that a lot of us, his people, didn't have. You know, the one for me is recruiting soldiers for Jah Army.
Oh, yeah, we played that a while ago.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
A song like that tells me that the system, as it prevails on the planet right now, hearing songs like these from, well, his band was a Word, Sound and Power.
Yeah.
Because you know, Muta, right? That words of power.
Yeah, man.
Let me emphasize the P. Power.
Yeah.
Right? And a man like this would not be allowed to continue for too long, to educate and uplift his people for any length of time during his living time.
Yeah.
So, my brethren, I'm thanking you, my brethren, for bringing back this man every then and now in our presence.
We do it in terms of naming a program of a song we sing, you know. The Stepping Razor, which is the name of the day.
Oh, yes. Jesus. Whoa, yeah.
You know, it's not to write a song there. It's Joe Higgs write that song.
Yes.
But we did that deliberately to make him them vibes live on in a program where we feel is representative of where mother did like. In our radio program, you know.
And there's a quote from you, my brethren, that every time I have certain reasoning with my friends and others, I always remember, and I say one night I would call it to ask if I'm quoting you right. You are sitting on the fence watching you or watching me.
On the wall, watch me, yeah.
Is that the right quote?
No, wall, not fence. Sit down on the wall.
Wall, or watch you or watch me, right. Not the fence, because the fence can hold up a strong individual like yourself. It's a wall.
On the wall, watch me.
Yes, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Before you get on with your life and get some positivity in your life, you're watching the man who is moving ahead. Yeah. And come talk about barefoot and all them things. But look where the barefoot has taken you. Yeah. Over the planet. Left, right, and center. And the amount of people that are reaching out to you.
Yeah.
A virgin for your vibes and things. But thanks
man.
Again.
Yeah, man.
I will allow other people to talk. But thanks again for Peter. For Peter. And I will repeat, my wheeler.
Yes. Give thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm my wheeler, man. I'm my wheeler, definitely.
I'll never forget.
I'm my wheeler.
Quickly, I'll never forget. Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, we play too, yeah.
Whoa. Man.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, good night to you, sir. I will allow others.
And let a Peter Tosh will play, you know.
La Gidama, we Rasfatari, Madania Lam, Chinaistali. Is Yabir,
Yeah, man, good. You know, thanks. You know, I'm really glad how you play my favorite wheeler, man.
Yeah,
Peter Tosh is stepping razor.
Everybody favorite. I mean, not everybody, but everybody will think like we, a favorite wheeler.
Yes, we think like we. We know say we are African. We know say we are African and we are not nothing else other than African, you know?
Yeah. I want to tell you something, you know, as you call we are talking about we think like we, you know. You know, there's this tune named Get Up, Stand Up. And I look at history about it that Peter Tosh sing the tune and say, we're sick and tired of your schism trying to go to heaven in Jesus' name. When Bob Marley joined 12 Tribe, him never did one really kind of step on them can. So, theme version is sick and tired of your schism trying to go to heaven with your schism. So, him left out the Jesus. When
Peter got out the Jesus,
yes. You know, 12 Tribe are some Jesus people, them.
Yes, are some Jesus people.
Yeah, so
when 12 Tribe are no Rasta, Jesus people.
When Peter Tosh said, you're sick and tired of schism trying to go to heaven in Jesus' name. Upper stadium, with this thing when we play, him say, look how long Jesus will come and he can't come, and black people there suffer.
Exactly.
So that sick and tired of your schism trying to go to heaven in your schism. It's funny.
Yes, exactly, because you know 12 Tribe with them Jesus business and a Rasta a Selassie, you know, straight African, and not 12 Tribe business, you know, and thing. But I see where you and Gregory Isaacs and Bonnie Ruggs got ODs yesterday.
Yeah.
Order of distinction, I mean on Monday, you know, and I just want to say, Gregory, next Tuesday, the 25th, in Harrow, there will be a plaque ceremony, a blue plaque ceremony.
I hear about that. And I think them supposed to show that June accept him OD thing in England, eh? I think.
Yes, but it should be shown. It should be shown, you know.
Explain the plaque thing, though. Explain the plaque.
No, what the plaque thing is that wherever famous people have lived.
Oh, yeah, I hear about it. Yes.
Yes.
They want to put up a plaque where they live.
No, the last place here where he lived, which was in Harrow, where he passed away, you know.
Yeah, I hear about it.
Yeah, because, you know, because I was with him, you know, at that home there. In Harrow. So a plaque is gonna be put in honor of Gregory Isaacs, the cool ruler, next Tuesday, the 25th. And so next week I'll let you know how that goes. And there's supposed to be a stage show the following Sunday, which is the 29th, if my memory serves me right. With some artists performing. The today, the 29th, but next Tuesday is the plaque. And one of my Kingston technical classmates, Anson Curry, passed away in Florida, U.S. last Thursday, the 13th. Yes, he originally from Portland, but when he was going to Kingston Technical, he lived in Denham Town, West Kingston, passed away. We had been in touch, and so prostate cancer, Muta.
Let me tell you, say, a 3 teacher dropped down since last week and dead. The last one was from Casey day before yesterday, yeah. One from Norman Manley School, and the next one last week. I don't know where I go on.
Yeah, man, prostate. Anson did tell me that about 2 years ago that he had it, and that, he was fighting it and that type of thing. Yeah. Good Kingston technical brethren. Yes, we were in touch,
Yeah, I don't remember him at all.
Yeah, if you see a picture, you would remember Anson Curry. Yeah. Good brethren and thing. But talking also about the ODs too, I said that I'm going to compile a list of a lot of famous Jamaicans from the 50s and 60s who have been overlooked, in terms of getting ODs,
All right.
Talking like all the man Rico Rodriguez. A man like Rico Rodriguez, Duke Vin.
But you can't call a whole heap of one Scatterlight Dan Drummond. I don't think Dan Drummond.
Yes, exactly. Scatterlight Dan Drummond, who taught Rico Rodriguez to play the trombone and used to lemon his trombone. A man like that. I don't think all Scatterlight is like all Lester Sterling.
Cedric Brooks.
Yes,
you can't call a whole heap of man. You can't mean a whole heap of people can direct.
Yes, Phyllis Dillon, and Owen Gray is 77 years old. Yeah. And there was an application for him to get it this year, because I wrote what Owen Gray has done in the business and was not done.
So what happened? What did happen? You don't know.
No, Babsy Grange, them claim that that the list full up on that type of business. But you see, this is not a GLP thing. It's both GLP and PNP. I noticed that some people who get these things have gotten them when they just come into the music business. In the 80s, 90s, and people who lay a foundation from the 50s and 60s.
Like a stranger cool and
that's what I don't like.
Yeah.
Due to family connections and political favoritism and that type of thing. So, but I'm going to compile a list of people from the 50s coming straight through.
You can count hundreds of people.
Yes.
You could have gone to give Jamaica. You could have gone to give Jamaica one.
What you say? A good for what?
No, by the time you don't compile, you could have to just give every Jamaican a OD.
Well, so be it, because those who deserve it is not a matter of the numbers, is the contribution, because all Seymour Stereo Williams from Spanish Town, greatest amps builder. So they in the 60s and
well, you know, them never give me it because of reggae still.
No, them not give you because of reggae. Them say because of your
journalistic,
your poetic
and journalism, poetry and journalism.
Poetry and journalism.
That's why they're different. It's like a different thing, It's like when them say, the commander class, that's what them call it, commander.
Yes,
class.
Commander. There are two classes, and guess what? There's the commander class, which is the highest, and then there is the lower class where them give you and Gregory Hunting called the officer class.
No, them never give me officer. And that may I tell you.
They never give you officer.
No, a commander class.
Well, that's the highest then.
Yeah,
well, that means that the news report that I read, because the news report that I read said that you had it as that you and Gregory got the officer class. No, so that's why I said that.
No, man, that's commander class, them say.
Okay, because Alton Ellis got, I think, his officer class, which is the lower class. You know what I mean? And a man like Alton Ellis,
you know? Class because you have OJ there, which is higher than OJ.
Yes, I know all of the things, order, merit, OJ, etc. But I'm talking within the order of distinction where you have the commander class, which is the highest, the officer class. We can know all the history of that, you know.
Yeah.
And
me just know the history. Since me up feet, me just go find out what is what.
Go check what is what. Yes. But it's a thing that I take interest in from time, you know.
Them said it started 1969.
Yes, true. 1969 it was instituted. Yes.
We never ever know about it, Rasta. We just hear it.
Same year where them did convert from the pound to dollars when it was 2 to 1, 1969.
Okay. That was Shearer time.
Yes, Shearer time, yes. Because Shearer was in until 1972, you know. And them thing there. And I really have to heal up all Roddy Supreme ruler of sounds and Spanish Town. The first sound to play a version, you know, Club Lulu at Spanish Town, Railway Lane in the 60s. Paragons on the Beach, instrumental wise. Roddy, you know, and stereo. You know, the greatest songs builder. I mean, Bonnie Lee can tell you about him, stereo, Seymour Williams. And I want to big up this African woman, the wife, Aisha, the wife of the president of Nigeria, who say that publicly in an interview that she's not going to support her husband for the next election and thing if he doesn't do what he has to do for the people of Nigeria.
We just play a documentary about Hillary Clinton and how she used some Nigerian man to
get a lot of money for so-called lecture talk and things.
700. The biggest one him get was 700,000. Bill Clinton.
Yes. And this thing, you remember some time ago I was talking to you and tell you, say, get that book Clinton Cash. And then you play some documentary sometime after.
Me just play one a while ago with Clinton.
Yes, man. That book, people must read that book, Clinton Cash, to show you the corrupt nature of Bill and Hillary Clinton and how she get her brother to be appointed on the board of some gold mining company in Haiti.
Rodman. When name something like Rodman.
Rodman, yes, because her surname is Rodman.
We just played that a while ago. We just played a while ago.
Yes. And the whole heap of money, man, where them collect on behalf of Haiti and other people in Haiti don't get nothing. So it's good thing that you're doing. Must be exposed. No difference between she and Trump. And she has a track record of doing bad things in Africa and in the Caribbean. That's a fact. But, you know, we just have, whichever one of them wins, we face the same racist enemy. That is the reality. No difference. And I was just reading a Malcolm X thing yesterday, you know, going over your revives in the Malcolm X thing. And Malcolm X said that a so-called African who is controlled by Europeans is of no use, but is an enemy of our people. And it just come to mind with Obama. Same thing. And this is where Malcolm has said from in the 60s. But so we know all about them putting people with so-called look like us. But they're controlled by us and working in our interests. You know what I mean? And thing. But I'm really glad about the plaque thing for Gregory, you know. And you have other people, Marcus Garvey, you have plaque here. His first wife, Amy Ashwood Garvey, my mother's cousin. She has, in fact, 2 plaques where she lived in Ladbroke Grove, and they have a house where they had originally for senior citizens from the Caribbean. That's named after her. There's a plaque there. So, you know, there's that tradition. Dennis Brown, there's plaque and that type of thing, you know. So, it's all good, you know. All good.
Give thanks, Virgin.
All right. Blessed love. Every time. All right.
To this campaign thing with Hillary and Trump, people have to stop look on the candidate them color or gender. And so they have to look on the people them whether they are in the campaign we are support Hillary. And some dangerous people are support Hillary. And I see them say dangerous people them did support Obama. You understand? But
yeah, man. All the money got them at defend Hillary.
Alright, but people just get them things from mainstream media.
Yeah, CNN.
You understand?
Fox,
Them need to check up something on YouTube and WikiLeaks and them things, and then we see what really takes place.
Yeah.
And she say, at the same to that people them too, all have all them hand in our politics too.
Yeah, true.
You understand? Because it's a world agenda, you know.
Yeah, man. One world order, new world order. Globalization.
Keep the masses down and them can thief up the wealth.
Mm.
You understand? But just go and put out the information out there no more.
Well, I wanted to say black people don't understand that aspect because most people don't really want to search for information. They make the mainstream give them the thing based off of feed them part. You know, so CNN, when you listen to CNN, you know, at peer Trump them talk about, you know. As you turn on your TV, so Trump get more advertisement on CNN than any other thing. Clinton get advertisement on Fox. The two of them have an agenda, you know. So you can't really look on them to come to a conclusion about none of them.
Yeah.
You see? So it's that thing, you have to just look, like all WikiLeaks, you know. Yeah. When WikiLeaks send out some things that are there about Hillary. And them start to ball out and say the Russian them are do it just because they want to divert the people in mind from what in the thing. It's not who said it, you know, it's where it say. If it's right or wrong, that is the problem, you know. Is it right or wrong? What them say. And what them say is right. That brother Assad said the thing right. I mean, even know where I do. You know, anyway, we have to go watch it.
Some hidden powers they behind them, you know, two of them, you understand?
When you say hidden powers, you mean other people?
Yeah, man, some other people, man.
Yeah, of course. All Obama
they just put them up as the puppet, you know what I'm saying?
All Obama too.
Yeah, man, all of them.
Yeah.
So as we as the people have to start analyze and say, yo, why we need them government to govern we when any idea them only the system only benefit them.
Yeah.
And the system is supposed to protect we.
Yeah.
And them supposed to serve we, you know.
Yeah.
You understand? No disrespect to our one, but them supposed to do the betterment are we the people. So that's why I put them in the position. But to me, when them get the position, them just use the position to benefit themselves and their family and their friends.
Yeah.
You understand? And that we really are fighting.
Can't trust a politician, man. I just can't trust politician. Alright, we got Bridget.
Yeah, man, this time.
Yeah. Can't trust a politician. Believe you me.
Warning.
Statistically, it's really mind-boggling to me how me say man with locks when they made that smoke cigarette. I mean, it's one of the most mind-boggling thing I say, given what we know about cigarette. I don't understand how a man can have Rastafari in him head and on him head and a smoke a thing like cigarette. You know, it's like, I mean, it might sound weird, but it always bother me. It always bother when I see a man with a Rasta man and smoke a cigarette. I say, weird. And where him come from? You mean, Rastafari show the people them a kind of way of life. But it was almost strange. Martin Moplano say Rastafari is the strangest people them. And after we done show the people them this way of life, and more people know, a latch on it. I see some big lax-head man with big cigarettes in their mouth that me I say, you know, they must come from a different planet, Rasta. Anyway, Peter Tass say, warning. So,
yes, hello, Lucas. Blessings in my life.
Right. Hello? You listen to your radio?
You can't play you can't play Buckingham Palace, man.
We play it already, man. You just wake up. You just wake up, man.
Well, no, man. Listen to you. Be quiet from time.
No, we don't play Buckingham Palace, man. We play the whole light. The whole 11-minute site.
But you didn't hear it at that time.
Well, the time soon.
A special night, this, you know.
Eh?
A special night, this.
Yeah, a special night. That's why we play it.
Listen, man, listen to you all the while. I first time I request a song from you.
So you want me to play it again?
Yes, man, why not?
Well,
That's special song, you know.
two people ask me to play other songs when they never play yet, you know?
No, but
you have other people that